Going on, my plant people? Welcome back. And if you're new here, I'm the ADHD gardener, where I use gardening, houseplants, and humor as a form of therapy. And I had some extra compost worms that I wanted to still use, so I found some paint buckets that I had around the property, and I decided to make a mini compost bin, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, I started off with two 5-gallon paint buckets that I had laying around my house. I'm using a spade drill bit to drill holes on the lid because the worms are going to need some air. So you drill some holes on the lid. What I'm going to do is screen out the holes later on so no worms escape. I'm also going to be drilling holes onto the bottom of one of the buckets because eventually you're going to have some liquid inside of this bucket, and you want the liquids to be able to come down or kind of exit out of that bucket, and it's going to go through those holes, and you're going to collect all the liquid in the bottom bucket. Now don't toss that liquid because that is going to be used as compost tea in the future. What I have here is some old window screen that I'm not using. I'm in the middle of renovation in my house, so a lot of these materials I had already hanging around the property. So I took an old window screen, cut some pieces up, large enough for the size of the hole, and what I'm going to do after that is silicone around the screen so I can make sure that these worms are not trying to escape anywhere. Yep, as you see, I am putting that window screen on all of the holes, the lid and the bottom of the bucket. These worms will try to escape. They will crawl or whatever they do, slither up the bucket and try to get out. So don't forget, any hole that you drill, cover with the screen. You don't have to do that, but you gotta know that these worms will escape. They are freaking sneaky like that. So I would advise putting a little screen on it. What kind of silicone do I have? Well, basically I use any silicone that I had around the house. It has to be waterproof though. You want waterproof silicone because in the bucket it will accumulate some liquids and you don't want anything happening. So silicone is the way. You put it around the hole so you can take your mesh screen that you fit the size and put it right on top. This is going to take at least a half hour to an hour to dry depending on what kind of silicone caulking you pick up. But general rule is I left it for basically an entire day. You don't have to do that. You just give it at least a few hours to dry. Ideally, you don't have to, but I guess it depends on the caulking that you use. Okie dokie, now you take your mesh screen that you cut the hole to size and you're going to lay it right on top of the silicone, press it all down together. You may have to put additional silicone caulking around it on top. I had to do that, but basically you get the gist. However, I would suggest cleaning this bucket before you start siliconing because obviously I did everything ass backwards, so I wound up cleaning out the bucket afterwards. But as you can see, my silicone has dried, is looking pretty good, and we're good to go. These worms are not going to escape. Time to get all of the materials together. You are going to put all of your composting materials into the bucket that has the holes. I am using plain old cardboard. For all the things that I use and order on Amazon, I am using that cardboard and I ripped it up. I also have egg cartons, the cardboard egg carton containers. I definitely have some of that. I'm throwing in there also. I'm using everything that I have in my disposal that I'm already going to be buying anyway regardless. So win-win situation. Now I'm just gonna put on a decent amount inside the bucket as a base. These worms can eat a lot. I only have about 500 worms here that I'm gonna put in, so it's a small container. Just like the egg cartons that I was holding on to, I was holding on to eggshells. I saved all of my eggshells, dried them up, squished them, crunched them down, and I am throwing some in the buckets. Awesome. Now I've been asking all of my family members, because I do not like coffee, to save me their coffee grounds, so I'm throwing in some coffee grounds. Thank you, family, for hooking me up, because I cannot stand coffee, but I know it is great for compost. Alrighty, I believe I am going to be adding right here some dirt. these worms like dirt, as you know, they kind of use it as grit. It kind of helps them eat along or digest along. I don't know, but this is what I've read, and I've heard multiple people say that you should use a little bit of dirt in there for grit. But now, ew, look at all that. That is some not so savory, but yet wonderfully great for the worms, is my composting my veg, my leftover stuff. I did not get a chance to eat my coleslaw veggies minus the sauce, so I just used it to my advantage and I threw it in the bucket. Look at these worms! They are small now. These are red wiggler composting worms. They're only about 2 inches long. They are super small. However, they will grow as they eat. Oh, look at that. Man, I'm telling you, I know my boyfriend was eyeballing these worms as fishing material, and I'm like, dude, I need these worms for my compost bin. Look at that. I have 500 worms in this, and it's a small batch of worms if you think about it, so I'm only using it for these 5-gallon bucket. Now, these worms were shipped from Uncle Jim's worm farm, and they come with like some kind of peat moss or dirt mixture already, so I just added everything. Ew, there goes that composting veggies again. I'm just throwing in extra, being that I'm not exactly sure how much of this that I'm going to need for the worms, so I'm just like dripping away, putting all that stuff in there. Ew. Ew, to me, it looks like a freaking buffet for these worms. I know these worms, I think it was, depending on how many worms you have, they can eat up to like 3 pounds to 4 pounds of food a week. But if you know, you guys, if anyone has made a worm composting bin and you know what the ratio is from worms to food, let me know in the comments down below. I really want to get this right. And also, I'm going to be using a flow-through worm composting bin soon, so I want to get this right. Okay, I just filled up some water because these worms really need a little bit of a moist environment. They don't want nothing dry, so I'm going to add on a little bit of water right on top into this bucket. And that is why there is a second bucket on the bottom to catch all the liquid that has dropped or fell off from the bottom. See, we're going to use everything from this bucket. So I'm just throwing some water in there, wet everything up. That's going to help the worms do their thing. I don't know what they're doing down there, but they're going to do it. It's going to take at least 3 months or so for this to decompose. But you know what? I'm going to check back in a little while, or a few weeks or so. Maybe I need to add food. Maybe I need to check it out. But so far, so good. And that was it. That's all I got to do. Alright, I want to thank you guys for chilling with me. If you like this video, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe and hit that notification bell. I will see y'all next time. Good job, Peanut. Peanut butter. Peanut butter.